June 6, 1944. The first light of dawn creeps over the Normandy coast, washing thousands of Allied landing craft in a pale blue haze. As infantry storms the bluffs above Omaha and Utah, waves of vehicles, including hundreds of Willys MB and Ford GPW Jeeps, wait for their ramp to lower. Dust and seawater mixes with the metallic rattle of engines. Most American soldiers know the Jeep as a workhorse. None realize it's about to become a weapon of shock and awe, rewriting German doctrine in a single morning. Allied planners had gambled on speed and mobility, anticipating everything from tanks to supply trucks. But it was the Jeep, the nimble four-wheeled icon, that would tip the tactical balance in ways even its designers never intended. A German officer scans the horizon. Smoke billows, men sprint across sand, and in the gaps between static strongpoints, the unmistakable silhouette of an American Jeep appears, roaring ashore, leaping craters, bristling with GIs. What the defenders never imagined, that a commander's utility cart would redefine battlefield movement and rescue, and in mere hours frustrate every German counterattack. The problem: crisis. German defenses at Omaha and Utah Beach were built for massed infantry and slow armor, structured with mines, hedgehogs, Belgian gates, barbed wire, and kill zones targeted by MG-42s and 75mm guns. Heavy rain and naval fire had left the ground churned and cratered, beach exits blocked, roads shelled into rubble. The problems piled up for the Allies. Demolished tanks, savage trucks, and a shortage of tracked vehicles left the first wave isolated, unable to coordinate support. Ammunition, medical supplies, field radios, and stretcher teams risked abandonment under relentless fire. The pre-invasion plan called for landing hundreds of Jeeps in support waves, but the actual assault was pure chaos. Vehicles swamped by shellfire, some stranded in surf, others lost to mines. As the beachhead struggled to expand, the need for high-mobility transport became desperate. Static armor couldn't reach the wounded in shell holes. Supply lines threatened to choke as men fought for every inch inland. The innovators, mavericks. The Jeep's role would explode far beyond expectation. Designed by Willys and Ford as a general-purpose scout, it weighed just over 20,400 pounds, with four-wheel drive, a 60-horsepower Go Devil engine, and a legendary reputation for reliability. On D-Day, innovation happened at the hands of ordinary GIs and combat engineers. In the first hours, squads repurposed Jeeps for everything: battlefield ambulances, mobile command posts, ammunition runners, even direct-fire gun platforms. Drivers lashed stretchers and Red Cross flags to the frame, daring MG-42 bursts to retrieve wounded from sand and smoke. Others mounted .30-caliber machine guns or recoilless rifles for charges against entrenched defenders. A lieutenant commandeered a Jeep, radio set mounted to the hood, turning the vehicle into a new nerve center. Orders and reconnaissance zipped from squad to squad at speeds German commanders could not track. The Jeep wasn't just support, it became the fastest tool in the Allied arsenal for adapting on the move. The revelation: Jeep in combat. The first Jeeps bounced onto the beaches, many carried by LCVP landing craft or larger LCTs. Some swerved through obstacles, others raced up the shingle, carrying medics, ammo, and officers past stunned German spotters. German accounts described phantom vehicles, so rapid, so coordinated, they seemed impossible in the cratered terrain. On Fox Red and Dog Green sectors, Jeeps zipped into gaps, delivering anti-tank teams, engineers, or even airborne paratroopers who dropped just hours before. In one instance, a Jeep team blazed through sniper fire to rescue a pinned anti-tank squad and deliver Payat launchers to threaten a German pillbox. Another Jeep became the first American vehicle seen by captured Wehrmacht defenders on D-Day. The result: German doctrine fractured. Strong points built to defeat tanks and slow infantry failed to engage mechanized masses. Jeeps turned Allied force into a rapid amoeba, linking airborne troops, hauling wire cutters and Bangalore torpedoes, and even mounting direct assaults on the bluff exits. The resistance turning point German officers and machine gunners attempted to target the new threat. Mines, shellfire, and barbed wire trapped dozens of Jeeps. The beach by midday was littered with wreckage, but for every destroyed Jeep, 2 more reached the bluff. Their speed and agility confounded defenders. Officers found their positions flanked, units outflanked, critical gaps exploited by those cursed little cars. A German unit report captured the shock. We saw the small American vehicles driving across flooded fields and marshes. Our men fired at them but could not stop their advance. By afternoon, it was clear. The Americans had achieved freedom of movement. Our lines were broken. By nightfall, the Jeep had become a symbol of the American advance, not just as auxiliary, but as a vanguard, a force multiplier that turned invasion into momentum. The Jeep was never designed for glory. It was built for necessity. The Willys MB and Ford GPW, quarter-ton, four-wheel drive command reconnaissance vehicles, were conceived from Army specs that demanded simplicity, reliability, and adaptability. At just over 2,200 pounds, with 60 horsepower, a 3-speed transmission, and full 4x4 capability, it was rugged enough to bounce over craters, yet small enough to weave between barbed wire and shell holes. In the lead-up to D-Day, over 15,000 Jeeps were allocated for Operation Overlord, each fitted with blackout lights, sealed spring shackles, and tool indents for battlefield repairs. Engineers mounted radio sets, ammunition crates, wire cutters, and towing gear. The Jeep's flat windshield hinged to illuminate the engine at night or shield crews from shrapnel under fire. The engine, a 2.2-liter inline-4 nicknamed Go Devil, proved legendary for cold start reliability, refusing to quit in sand, mud, or seawater. With a top speed of 65 miles per hour and a fuel range up to 285 miles, the Jeep could run logistical circles around larger trucks and armored units. Field mechanics adapted Jeeps with speed and improvisation. In landing zones, wheels were swapped in muddy chaos, transmissions repaired under fire. Some Jeeps mounted 30 or 50 caliber machine guns on makeshift brackets. Others were up-armored with sandbags or plate steel scavenged from wrecked landing craft. Radio Jeeps bristled with antennae, linking infantry to offshore naval fire. Engineers added racks for Bangalore torpedoes, wire spools, and stretchers. "The Jeep is as much weapon as transport," wrote a commander in his after-action report. "It delivers men, moves guns, pulls the wounded, and links the battle together." As Allied units pressed further inland, over marshes, hedgerows, and bombed farm tracks, Jeeps ferried squads on flanking maneuvers. Medics packed casualties into every seat, racing to field hospitals. Ammunition trucks, stuck in sand, relied on Jeep relays to deliver mortar rounds and grenades. German troops, trained to resist tanks and massed infantry, found themselves outpaced and outflanked by the little Allied vehicles. In flooded fields and on rural lanes, Jeeps appeared everywhere. One Wehrmacht report described the invasion's shock. "We assumed American equipment to be heavy and slow. Instead, these small motor carriages penetrated every gap." As dusk fell on June 6th, lines of Jeeps returned to the battered beach, headlights hooded, engines idling. Inside, battle-weary survivors gripped rifles, medical kits, maps, and each other. Proof that victory sometimes rides in the simplest of machines. As the beachhead expanded, the Jeep became the true backbone of Allied operations. By midday on June 6th, Jeeps were zooming along muddy tracks, hauling bazooka teams and mortars, picking up wounded, and ferrying commanders from the sand to the front, a distance of only a few hundred yards, often made impossible by wreckage and gunfire. Allied infantry began using Jeeps as assault vehicles, mounting 30 caliber machine guns and even light anti-tank weapons for mobile fire support. In the chaos of the bocage, Normandy's infamous hedgerow country, Jeep columns flanked German positions, delivered ammunition, and rescued trapped units. Some maintenance crews fitted steel plates and sandbags for extra protection. Others welded racks for wire cutters and explosives. Omar Bradley, commander of American ground forces, spent up to 8 hours a day in a Jeep, zipping between regiments, directing operations, and helping stuck units break out from traffic jams and encirclements. His rolling command post let him see the front firsthand and coordinate attacks in real time, an innovation German officers could hardly imagine. On the German side, field reports noted that Jeeps allowed Americans to launch attacks with alarming speed, outflanking machine gun nests or racing across open fields that tanks avoided. One German officer wrote, "We cannot hit them. The small motor carriages cross everywhere, over ditches, fences, and bomb craters. Our minds are set for heavy vehicles, not these nimble carts." As the Allies captured more ground, Jeeps were the first to reach wounded paratroopers, isolated tank crews, and surrounded command posts. Radio jeeps with extra batteries and long antennae relayed messages between ships offshore, forward observers, and armored columns, integrating artillery, air, and ground fire with a speed new to war. In rear areas, jeeps kept essential supplies flowing. Ammunition, fuel, water, and medical kits all relied on the jeep's agility. Mechanics converted jeeps into mini wreckers for towing stuck vehicles or evacuating casualties. By nightfall, jeeps darted across new supply roads, headlights covered, marked only by the distant echo of boots and engines. The ability to move men and material faster than German forces could react became a game-changer in the unfolding battle. What shocked German defenders most was not the jeep's armor, firepower, or noise. It was the way Americans used mobility, speed, and improvisation as weapons. The jeeps became the invasion's nervous system, pulsing signals, relief, and force through every contested mile. The legend was born. To fight with the American jeep was to fight with ingenuity, momentum, and daring. On D-Day, it meant victory could roll forward on 4 simple wheels. Beyond the battlefield chaos, the true genius of the jeep was logistics. In the weeks leading to D-Day, America's supply network shifted into high gear. Over 20,000 jeeps arrived with the first waves, each stamped with unique serials, but all built to the same standard, guaranteed to run, guaranteed to repair in any combat zone. Supply depots brimmed with spare parts, engines, axles, transmissions, wheels, each interchangeable, each deliverable by air, truck, or boat. In Normandy's chaos, mechanics working under fire could cannibalize wrecked jeeps, repair vital engines, and get vehicles rolling in hours. One depot manager boasted, "Every jeep landed can be maintained with any component. All parts fit all models. American logistics does not compromise." Contrasted with German motor pools, the difference was stark. German vehicles depended on myriad suppliers and bespoke parts. Allied jeeps embodied standardized mass production, faster repairs, easier maintenance, simple training. Even captured jeeps could be kept running with Allied spares, something German officers noted with envy. By mid-June, the Allies established the Red Ball Express, a motorized supply route from Normandy to the front. Jeeps became scouts for this rolling lifeline, marking safe paths, rescuing broken-down trucks, and delivering urgent orders. In 5 days, nearly 6,000 supply vehicles carried over 12,000 tons of material forward, an unprecedented logistical surge. Every jeep in motion kept squads supplied: food, fuel, ammunition, medical kits. Field workshops became hives of innovation. Mechanics installed winches, field radios, trailers loaded with jerry cans, the iconic American fuel container designed for speed and protection in battle. Captured German reports from Normandy revealed sudden respect. The Allies achieve mobility by standardized vehicles. They maneuver quicker, repair easier. We cannot match this flexibility with our own supply system. Night and day, jeeps darted between columns of tanks, convoys of infantry, and lines of wounded, never pausing, always ready. Every delivered box was a lifeline. Every returning jeep was proof that logistics win wars. The legacy began at Omaha and Utah, but would stretch to Paris, the Ardennes, and beyond. Jeep logistics became the engine behind every Allied advance, a revolution not just of steel, but of clever planning, relentless supply, and the muscle of American industry. In the aftermath of Normandy, one fact became clear: American victory would not have been possible without the Jeep. This simple, rugged vehicle was credited by Eisenhower himself as one of the 4 key weapons behind Allied triumph. More than 640,000 Jeeps poured off American assembly lines during the war, over 12 times the number of German equivalents. Every Allied army used them. They became the backbone of mobility, enabling everything from deep reconnaissance and field command to ambulance runs and munitions resupply. British SAS teams mounted raiding guns on jeeps for strikes behind enemy lines. French partisans rode them into liberated towns. Soviet Red Army pilots used them for airfield command. German soldiers, who once laughed at the primitive Yankee cart, clamored for captured jeeps, valued for their speed, mechanical reliability, and endless adaptability. Entire panzer divisions adopted stolen jeeps for staff cars and quick patrols. Hitler's special operation teams even requested jeep fleets for missions behind the American lines in the Ardennes and the Bulge. In battle, jeeps brought wounded home who would otherwise have died, sped orders and reinforcements where tanks could not reach, and connected every part of the supply system. In retreat, German officers described abandoned supply depots full of Jeep parts, evidence of a mobility network that dwarfed anything they possessed. When the Allies pressed east, Jeeps became a symbol of liberation, rolling into Paris, Berlin, Rome, and eventually Tokyo. While their presence shouted one truth: America's strength was more than firepower, it was engineering and organization. General Major Fritz Bayerlein, captured as the war ended, would call the Jeep among the three most valuable Allied pieces of equipment. He explained, "The Jeep did not win battles by killing the enemy. It enabled everything else: the movement, the logistics, the flexibility that made operations work. We had nothing like it." After the war, Jeeps returned home and found new life across the world. Civilian farmers, peacekeepers, rescue teams, and engineers kept them running for decades. From Normandy to Korea, the Jeep's legacy endured as a monument to mass production, reliability, and the unassuming genius of American pragmatism. As decades passed, the lessons of D-Day and the Normandy campaign were clear. Victory belonged to those who could adapt, improvise, and keep moving. And sometimes it all depended on a little olive green car that never quit.